Welcome, everybody, to the Integrate Yourself podcast. We're your hosts, Allison and Maja Gottlieb. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we're with the ladies of Point Gym and Kitchen over here in Portland, Oregon. Kimberly Alexander and Melissa Sher. Sorry about that. I remembered. So they're going to tell us a little bit more about what they're all about. What interests me a lot about you guys is that you guys take everything that you teach people in the gym and then you bring it outside into adventures and expeditions. And I would love to hear you guys talk more about that, as well as how you came about, how you came to doing this. What's the journey? What's your personal journey on what, inspired you to help people this way?
I'll start. You're a little busy with Cooper there. This is Kimberly, by the way. And so my personal journey is just sort of lifelong athlete, and grew up in what would be a health conscious home if you lived in the 80s. So there were vegetables, they were always frozen, or canned peaches. We had cereal every morning for breakfast, but it was the healthy cereal. And then, along the lines of most other teenage girls, I became a vegetarian at some point. And that lasted for a long time, and was even a vegan for 2 of those years. And the journey back, though, with all of the sports background, I had a lot of education around empowerment and being strong and kind of aggressive and competitive. And I never jived with post college, when you started going to the gym in order to stay fit rather than your soccer practice. I never really jived with any of the messages that were around the gym culture for women, in that separating by the cardio deck and the weight room, and all the magazines that were there, and the classes that were booty something, or bikini slim down. And I was always this is BS. And so I I went into education. I was a teacher, but I always I kind of kept active in the fitness scene, becoming a personal trainer and teaching group classes. And I kind of had this dream of creating an active space for people that smashed all the rhetoric that we were taught. And I never thought that it would actually come to fruition, but then I met Melissa, and we had a shared vision, and she was also a rad person. So we ditched our day jobs and made it happen. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, it's beautiful. My story, I guess, is oddly similar to Kimberly's. I just grew up playing all the sports, did gymnastics forever as a kid, and then got into the team thing, and just found myself in college at kind of a loss for knowing how to do any of that on my own. So when I didn't have a coach telling me how to work out, I didn't really know what to do, and I didn't have mom cooking for me. I didn't really know what to eat, and I started to explore that more on my own and become really interested in it. And then I grew up in Missouri and then in Kansas, and got to Portland and was what have I been doing for 18 years there? This is awesome. Nothing against Missouri or Kansas, just from a kid interested in the outdoors, it just kind of grabbed me. And so I started working as a personal trainer, but decided to become an outdoor guide for a while. I did rafting and biking and hiking guiding. And that was awesome. I loved it. But then I met Kimberly. She ruined everything. And it came at a good point. I was ready to not live out of a suitcase, ready to have a home. And so we started Point and are now getting to sort of integrate that outdoor piece into the gym too, which is really nice because we can have total control over where we go and what we do. And it's just been really exciting. And who's invited. So yeah, that's the short of that.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
What I meant by that was was that sometimes we have women-specific outdoor excursions. So yeah. So that's really all I meant by that. You were about to ask a question, so we'll let you do that and then we can.
I was going to say, hi, Cooper. This is my dog, Cooper. He's trying to get in the mix here. This is Cooper. Yeah. Hey, say hi, Cooper. Basically, what I was going to point out is that you use the word integrate, and that's really big on, it's what we're all about as well. Like, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys on the show, is because you guys really, you're showing people in a very authentic way how to integrate what they're learning in the gym, which a lot of it doesn't make sense. I agree with your story, Kimberly, about, going to the gym and not really resonating with what's being offered, or, saying, the cardio doesn't really make sense. All the cardio machines being on those for hours. But like what you guys do is you help people in the gym, and then you take what they've learned and then you help them integrate that into outdoors and show them how they can use that as natural human beings. So I think that's incredible. Yeah. And I know you guys through MoveNat, because I'm a MoveNatter too, and I'm a certified level 1, but you guys just finished level 3, which is really freaking incredible. So I have to say, we've talked about Wonder Woman on the show before, Maja, but like these are two like real Wonder Women right here. Let me tell you, because they just are so freaking impressive to me, like what they can do. But do you guys want to talk a little bit about the recent certification and what you had to go through to do that, or what MoveNat is, if no one knows what that is?
I happened upon MoveNat on another podcast, and was really intrigued by it because I'm like very into education. My day job that I was talking about before was a teacher. I taught middle and high school, and I've just been collecting certifications, like because I love to learn, but also because I just had never felt like I had anything that I wanted to go deeper with. And so when I heard about MoveNat, I was like, yeah, well, this is like, duh. I mean, and that was part of the problem, if you talk about integrating, the thing with like the bikini thing is like, okay, so we're getting in shape to wear a bikini, but like that doesn't integrate into my life in any way. That doesn't help me do anything. Like anyone can put a bikini on, but what are you going to do in your bikini? Like if you're going to the beach, then you're probably like playing volleyball or like running around or who knows. So when I heard the philosophy of MoveNat being that you want to be strong to be helpful, and that you want to use the strength and sort of movement skills that you have in an outdoor environment, and you want to, like, the things that you're going to pick up in your life are not these perfectly engineered items like barbells and kettlebells, but they're like awkward things that you might be moving in the case of like doing natural disaster relief work, or even just like moving things on your property for landscaping, whatever it is that you want to be strong to use your strength in real life practical application. So that really resonated, and I got really curious. And so I kind of tried to find some other podcasts that had MoveNat specific people on there, or were talking about MoveNat. And I shared it with Melissa. I was like, we just like, this is it. Like, if we're going to have a certification for our like outdoor focused gym, this is what it needs to be. So, we dove headfirst in. They offered a back-to-back level 1 and 2 certification, back in the spring. And everything just made a lot of sense, and everything just sort of aligned for us to dive into level 3. So I'll let Melissa talk about that experience then now.
Yeah. So yeah, Kimberly told me to listen to that podcast one day that she heard about MoveNat on, and I did. And normally I'm a little bit like, let's wait and see with all the ideas that we have. But with that one, I was like, that's exactly what we've been trying to say, and they said it better in our gym. And so yeah, we signed up for the level 1 and level 2. Like she said, they were sequential days in Portland. And yeah, the process was at the level 1 and level 2 were quite different from level 3. Level 1 and level 2 were really great from a teaching perspective. So I think the skills you might learn in 1 and 2 if you are a trainer and, they're great for any client that you might have, athlete, someone who's a little bit older, somebody who's injured. They're, I think, the most useful right away skills. So you're going to learn to walk again, how, we might, a lot of us are doing that incorrectly. You're going to learn to crawl. You basically literally learn like from the ground up how to move again. And that was really helpful for me, especially because Kimberly and I have some older personal training clients, and just being able to teach someone 5 different ways to get up off the ground with or without using your hands is a skill that people are going to need to use way more than, a thing we might do in level 3, like jumping over a wall, for example. So, yeah. And the process was cool too from an exercise standpoint. I think a lot of what we do in life, and a lot of what we learn in the gym is all in this sagittal plane where you don't get outside of it. And I think that's where a lot of people get injured, is because we don't have to really get out of this comfort zone that we have in our bodies. And so when we do accidentally, we get hurt. And a lot of people are afraid of movement because of that, because they're like, well, I get hurt so easily. And it's like, well, you get hurt so easily because you don't move in that way often. And so that was a really cool concept in the process of level 1 and level 2 that I think we both took from it, was just the idea of movement and how we can reshape it, and how even as trainers we'd been taught it's supposed to be. Just totally relearning that was really cool. And so we finished level 1 and 2, and Kimberly and I are the type of personalities where, like if there was a level 5, we'd be like, oh shoot, we got to go for level 5 next. So luckily it stops at level 3. And they offer it when, someone the other day said, oh, I heard they're working on a level 4. I was like, no, they're not. I know. And so, so the level 3 happens once a year. It's in New Mexico, where the founder, Erwan, lives, and they didn't really release the date until we knew it was in the fall based on previous ones. And so I think I might advise people to wait a year, and depending on where your training is, there's a lot of training you could do, a lot of skills you could polish before jumping into the level 3. But we just watched Facebook very closely, and when they announced level 3, we're like, okay, let's just get it over with and do it.
Guys, let's talk a little bit about your company called Point, and where the name came from, and what you offer in the gym, in the kitchen, and the expeditions. And tell our listeners first the name, and then go into the other ones.
Mm-hmm. So Point it still stands for, but it used to be an acronym for Portland Outdoor Indoor Nutrition and Training. That's really long, and we had to file our taxes on paper, so we decided to shorten it.
Yeah, it wouldn't fit in the little digital box. So we were like,
So we rebranded, and we're just Point Gym and Kitchen, and Point can stand metaphorically for a number of things. So and the gym is obviously what we do in the gym. The kitchen is coaching you on what to do in your kitchen. Kimberly and I are both nutritional therapy practitioners, so we do one-on-one and some group nutrition coaching as well.
So talk a bit about the nutritional therapy. What is it that what's the training like? Where did you go for that? And what do you do to help people understand how to understand your theory of therapy of the nutrition value?
So we got certified through the Nutritional Therapy Association, and we found it through somebody actually came. We were already doing like a group nutrition thing just based on our own personal interest in educating ourselves on nutrition, but someone came by the gym to offer services about nutrition presentations, and we're like, wow, what he has to say is totally in line with what we already think. And wouldn't it be nice to have some letters behind our name to offer more legitimacy to what we're telling people to do? So we asked where he was trained, and then just again dove in, and they have trainings. There's it's part online and part in person, and so we found one they have in Portland. if they don't have it every year in Portland, then they have it every other year. I think they swap with Bend, doing a location in Bend and a location in Portland. And their foundation is a properly prepared, nutrient-dense whole food diet, which is like, yeah, there's no gimmicks. So it's, the properly prepared means, for anything from like, we're not going to obliterate vegetables until they're mushy. But also, just basically like, how can we prepare different foods to offer the most nutrient density out of them? So nutrient dense would be like choosing the fruits and vegetables and meats and things that have the most nutrients to offer you. And whole foods, just like don't eat out of a box with a barcode. Like things that come from the earth that were here for us to pick up or kill and then eat when we didn't have factories.
So do you do nutrition classes? Do you have like a kitchen that you literally have where you cook food when people watch you, or you just do meal plans and show people how to utilize the food list, or what exactly do you do in the kitchen part?
One of the main thing that we do is one-on-one coaching, and that it's really stressed that everyone has sort of bio-individual needs when it comes to nutrition. So like, kale has a lot of nutrients in it, but it doesn't mean it's really great for everyone to eat. Same thing with tomatoes. Like tomatoes are awesome, but if you're somebody that shouldn't have nightshades, then that wouldn't be a great recommendation. So when we bring people in, we go through like a very holistic process, intake form, starting with birth. Were they vaginally birthed? Were they breastfed? Where did they grow up? And what sort of environmental toxins were they exposed to? Did they move around a lot? So like what were stressors in their life growing up? Just various questions, including an over 300, it's called the Nutritional Assessment Questionnaire. And it takes you through and asks you about all these different symptoms that you might have that, like, in our life we're just told are like, oh yeah, well, everyone gets headaches, or like most people have a hard time falling asleep at night, and like it's totally normal to wake up 3 times a night to pee. So so it's like, okay, well, like maybe that like could be a common symptom, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's normal. So we break it down and think about how what we're eating might be affecting what's going on in our bodies.
All right. So we also do group nutrition presentations, and so our next one will be in January. It's just when a lot of people are ready for a fresh start. It's not really New Year's oriented, but what it is a 28-day whole food quote unquote challenge. So it's more like an elimination type diet. So no gluten, no dairy, no soy, no sugar is the big one. And just to try and eat as like the Nutritional Therapy Association talks about, as like whole foods, as many nutrient dense foods, and like as properly prepared as you can. So that's really fun. We have a Facebook group that everyone who does the challenge is a part of. So it's more of like a community type event rather than a one-on-one thing. So you don't get the whole bio-individual approach to it. We're kind of doing blanket recipes for everyone, but you do get the support of Kimberly and I in the group, and then everyone else who's doing it alongside you, which is probably the most helpful thing for people. So they get recipes and shopping lists, and then just support from the both of us, and that'll be starting probably like January 2nd, 2018. So pointgymandkitchen.com, and under the kitchen tab it'll say Eat Challenge, and it stands for Eat Actual Things.
Oh, that's a nice acronym.
We try to keep it real basic for people. Like, we don't need to talk about all these like nutrient, like just eat actual things.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what's the expedition part? Because that looked really exciting to me.
It sort of depends on the trip, I would say. We're gonna start. The trips are newer in the last year and a half, and we're gonna start announcing all the trips for the year in January. So our first trip will be this February in 2018. So probably in about a month, we'll announce all the trips that are going to happen in 2018. And so people can kind of look and decide like, oh, I want to do that one in June. Maybe I need a little bit more fitness for it. So for example, our summer trip is going to be a women's only Mount Adams climb. So that one would, you would want to go into that having prepared for it for sure. We'll put on a workshop at the gym that helps prepare people for something like climbing for 7 hours for a day or two. So we'll do
at least.
we'll require a little preparation for that, or just the understanding that you're someone who can give it a good try. But then our winter trip is a little less intense, so that one will be in January, and it'll be a combination, like you said, of fat tire biking, snowshoeing, and then we're going to go in some caves in and around Bend this year. So, that one, I think I would say that all levels are totally welcome. That, there are options to not do certain things if you don't feel like you can, and it's not this crazy pace that we're going to be snowshoeing at. It's more for enjoyment and just like getting outside in the winter. And the thought behind having these trips in the first place, or the reason we wanted to bring them to the gym, is just because it's hard to have access to a lot of things. Like we did a rafting trip this past summer, and you can go get a guide and go rafting, but people don't have rafts, they don't really have all that stuff, or they don't know where to go, or you don't know how to raft, so the idea is that we kind of take all the complicated stuff out of it. You sign up, you show up, you're ready to have fun, and we sort of take care of the rest, and people can feel confident having us leading it, and also hopefully try something new that they wouldn't have otherwise, because they wouldn't have thought to have access to it. And then we just recently, the rafting trip was actually our first women's only trip. The Mount Adams climb will be the second one. And, the idea behind that is just to create like a totally safe feeling environment, where a lot of times I think in the gym and definitely in the outdoor world, it can just, there just becomes a level of intimidation sometimes for a lot of people. And to just kind of take that out of it is, I think, really a new experience for people to just feel like they can go out there, do something for the first time. No one's judging them. I'm not saying like men judge every woman out in the outdoors, but just having worked in the outdoor industry for a really long time, and Kimberly too, just having been a part of it our whole lives, like it definitely to have an all women's trip can be pretty powerful and really fun. So we're excited for that.
I get where Allison was talking about the Wonder Woman aspect, because it seems very empowering, and especially because expeditions are always seeming, and the word expedition seems very broad and big, right? So like expeditions of Mount Everest, or expeditions in something like that. But making it simple for anybody to go to is a real gift, because a lot of people want to go do these things, but they are not prepared. They don't know how to get prepared, really. And if it puts a lot of effort into something, you really have to kind of push yourself over the edge to say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I still want to go, right? Yeah. So this I think is a wonderful idea for anyone who really wants to connect to the outdoors. So thank you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Like you're saying, I don't know if I was clear enough about this before, but we get excited when we get the person who's like, I've never camped, I've never climbed a mountain, I've never hiked. Like we don't want that person to not feel like they can come. We want that person to be the first to sign up, because this is going to be the experience they get, where they have a group of other women, or if it's a co-ed trip, just a group of other people to help support. Probably they haven't done it again either. Kimberly and I are really not intimidating people and in person, and so just to get someone outside for the first time is why I personally started guiding in the first place, and it's what's really fun about it. So we totally welcome people who are completely new to whatever the activity we're leading in. What I guess I meant by the Mount Adams climb is just, making sure you're working toward that goal. If you haven't climbed a mountain before and you want to join us for the Mount Adams climb, just knowing there's a level of preparation before that, but totally fine to have never stepped foot on a mountain before.
We're very open about our pricing. It's like the most frustrating thing to go to a website and be like, wow, that looks awesome, and then have to spend 15 minutes searching for how much it costs. And we set up payment plans, and we try to have like at least a partial scholarship for someone that comes on the trip for that kind of stuff. But it really is like, it's just about breaking down barriers to getting outside and having access to like putting your skills to use to like commune with nature, do something that's really empowering, do something that's really fun. I think, kind of like you were saying, like, oh, expedition, it's like this big word, it's kind of daunting. And that's how people feel about, something that we think like, oh, we're going to like, let's take the raft out this weekend and go like shoot the Deschutes, and
yeah, right.
But it's, when people think about it in their minds, when they haven't done it, it's like, I could never do that. Mm-hmm. But it's the same as, giving somebody a recipe to follow instead of just saying like, hey, go home tonight and make some like chicken cacciatore. Like that is daunting. But if you give them a step-by-step process of what that is, and show them like this is a packing list. So we do that for all trips. Like, okay, even if it is something that is like we could do every single weekend, you have to break it down for people. Like, these are the clothing items you need to pack. This is the equipment you need to pack. You don't have that equipment, we're gonna like set up a gear swap so people can share gear, or we can help you procure that or rent it if you need. Meet at this time, make sure you have extra of this. Like, we provide food, but if you get really hungry, pack snacks, especially like here are some ideas for what kind of snacks you might want if you've never done it. So it really is like giving people a recipe to make it a really successful trip. Yeah.
That's awesome, because that breaks it down into steps. Lots of steps are needed. So, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I like that a lot because, it can be very overwhelming for a lot of people. And I can personally say that I've been overwhelmed. Like, look at some of you guys' trips. I love to do that, but can I do that? Like, I'm not sure, But, I like how you put that. Like, it's like a recipe and putting it into steps, because and you guys are, if you organize that, you guys don't leave anything out, it sounds like. So it makes it really easy. And I love that. Yeah. That's fantastic. So you guys have a snowshoeing trip coming up in February, which I'm going to look at. And then you have another, you said a Mount Adams trip in this summer. Okay. How many miles is that, like up Mount Adams? Like, how, you said it's 7 hours of climbing? Like, what would that entail?
Yeah, it's not very many miles, but it's
Yeah, whoa, yeah. And have you guys done Mount Adams before? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, for the Mount Adams climb, we'll do it in 2 days. So it'll be a really cool experience, because we'll hike up to some flats, and people will get to experience like camping in the snow, cooking in the snow, maybe cooking in extreme wind. Who knows? So it'll be like the most physically challenging trip that we do this year, but Mount Adams is really awesome, particularly because you get to slide down the whole mountain. So yeah, and we'll be doing a workshop that is mountain climbing specific through the gym about probably a couple months before. So it'll be like a once a week thing. We'll probably at Mount Tabor and go practice some specific training tools and techniques for that. Something we kind of have in the works right now is creating some online training programs for different sports. So probably in conjunction with the in-person workshop we do for the climb, we'll also create an online thing so we can send it to people who want to come do the trip. We also can do remote nutrition coaching too. So there are some services we offer where you don't have to live in Portland to take advantage of them.
Can they bring friends? Is there a limited amount of people that you want to take on your big trips?
Yeah, depends on the trip. So for Mount Adams, just safety wise, there's going to be 2 of us, so we're going to cap that at 10 people. And then the winter trip could be a little bit bigger, probably between 12, 14 at the most people, if they want to come. But usually it's around 12 average, I would say.
Yes, because I'm starting to get really interested. So that's like,
Yeah.
not only asking for the listeners, I'm asking for myself.
Yeah, well, winter details coming soon.
Definitely check out our Patreon page if you're interested in integrating into our online community. We would really appreciate the support as well, as it funds our podcast. It helps us bring these shows to you every week, and these really amazing guests, as well as the really great information on the topic shows. And the other intention for the page on Patreon is to help you guys integrate all the information we share with you on the show and provide feedback and guidance, as well as answer questions for you. So check it out. It's patreon.com/integrateyourself. Back to the show.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do like a women's retreat at the Tilly Jane cabin near Mount Hood. So that'll be like 20 people. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, you guys
sounds like fun.
You guys are rocking and rolling with all that stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah, we get really excited, and I think like if we were to talk to a business coach about something, they would be like, you should really focus on one thing and get really good at that. And I think that's why so many gyms specifically are like, we do Pilates, period. And that is what we do. And if you want to do anything else, you have to go get another like $150 membership somewhere to do your other thing. And then, but it just like, if we're here on the Integrate Yourself podcast, it's like impossible for us to pick one thing. And we get excited about everything and see how everything relates to each other. So if you're in the gym and you're working out, you need to have proper nutrition in order to fuel that. But also just for general health. But then like if you're in the gym and working out, like then, okay, but for what? Like, because the doctor told you needed to work out for an hour a day. Like, what is working out for an hour a day if you sit at your desk for the other, like 14 waking hours? So we really are big advocates of like being jacks of all trades, or Jills of all trades in this case. But in this way, like I would so much rather go like inch deep, mile wide than just like pick one thing and dive down only into that one thing.
Yeah, I agree completely, because I agree so much with that, because and I think Maya probably feels the same. That's part of the reason we started this podcast, is because we're interested in so many things and we feel like all these things can help people, but it's not one thing. But usually that's what marketing is. It's like you have to hone in on one thing and really, dive deep into it. But I don't really think I agree with that. I don't think that's necessary. I think showing people how to bring all these things in their life that can help them, because there's lots of things, right? And there's lots of ways to do it. And as well, I know that you guys have integrated a way of helping the community into your business. So you guys do a lot of donations, or are you guys a nonprofit? I'm not really sure. I thought you were, but
we're not. We just believe in being good people.
Okay.
But that is the messaging that we want to share with people, is that like we promise to run our business with utmost integrity. Like, we're never gonna scalp people in terms of costs. We like literally, we definitely will sacrifice so that more people can afford to come to the gym. But the messaging around like using your health as an act of service, that like our whole greater community can only be as great as each individual is contributing to it. And when you are like physically healthy, you'll be like emotionally, mentally healthy. You'll just have a lot more stability, and you'll have a lot more energy to give back. I know that there are tons of people who like want to say that they give back, but they're just like so overwhelmed and really busy and stressed out. And it's like practicing self-care is important, like because it's important to take care of yourself. And then also practicing self-care is really important as a way to give back to your community. So whether, if you don't have the way to do it financially and you don't even really have the way to do it with your time, you can do it by just being a good person and like spreading happiness and joy to the people that are in your circle. I think we could just get overwhelmed with like feeling pressured to be like Mr. or Mrs. Philanthropist or like we're at the food bank every Saturday. It's like sometimes it's really just as simple as like radiating happiness and letting people feed off of that.
True. That's very true.
Truly believe that. And you guys definitely embody that for sure. Every time I see you, talk to you, look at your social media, you guys radiate that happiness and uplifting for everybody you come in contact with. So we thank you guys for that. Yeah.
So constantly evolving, just with everything else. We have our philosophy. Kimberly and I both kind of live through variety. So we believe that there's not one type of training that is the perfect type of training. You need to move in all different types of ways. Yes, an hour at the gym is great, but if, like Kimberly said, you're not moving the other 14 hours, then, okay. So I think that we try and instill kind of a philosophy of movement within the gym that teaches people like, okay, this is how we're going to move in here, and this is how you can incorporate it outside as well, particularly through training with MoveNat. So that's kind of the philosophy, the approach to it. Our classes are a strength class, which we do a lot with barbells, a lot with kettlebells. We do a lot of ground movement and just body weight kind of movements as well. And then we have an agility class, which does a little bit more lateral movement, a little bit more plyometric jumping type movements. And then there's a lot of crossover in both of those classes. Like we'll do the ground movement and that type of thing in both classes. We'll work on with body weight and do like push-ups in both classes, for example. But then we try and integrate a simple movement like a push-up, for example, and turn it into how can that be functional? Like can you push up and also like use that movement when you're down on the ground to like crawl? Do you have to get under something low? Like can you do that? Because that's probably what you're gonna have to do outside rather than just like sit there and do a strict down and up movement. It's not that practical. So so those are our classes. And then in 2018 we're gonna start to offer some MoveNat specific classes. So if that's more your thing or you want that to kind of complement what you're already doing, then we'll have that as well as MoveNat Elements workshops, which will be like 1 day, 6 hour long workshops that really go over those basics that I mentioned we did in like the level 1 and level 2. So crawling and how to relearn how to walk and just basically move like the humans we were intended to.
And those are open for everybody. The elements, you don't have to be a membership, or you don't have to have a membership at the gym to do those.
Yeah, I have to say again, I know you guys really, I really am sincere about you guys inspire me every time. I'm like really get motivated when I see your stuff. I'm like I need to be doing more. So so thank you guys. And and I feel like just from hearing you guys talk, I'm going to sign up for one of your expeditions because, I've been wanting to for a long time anyway, but the way you guys plan it and feel like, sounds like to me that you guys just kind of do everything so that, somebody doesn't have to worry about the small stuff and they can just go in there uninhibited and, be empowered. So yeah, that sounds incredible. Yeah, I will. I'm going to.
Okay.
She's supposed to come back and visit sometime soon.
When you realize when you've been out of your own environment and you go into a new one, it's a whole like learning curve, right? So it's exciting. It is exciting to do things like that. So I love the fact that you're doing the different seasons. That way people can go where they can challenge themselves, which is what really we need. We need more people to be able to explore this earth in terms of where and what, it has to offer. And I think a lot of people have been so conditioned in their lives to, like you said, go to the gym, work out, do what they need to get it done. But do they really have like a passion for it? So, I think I get it because I did all these an Ironmans and I did quite a bit of them, but my life has changed and I don't want to put all that effort into something like that over and over again because it kind of gets, I need something different, right? So those are the passions that seems to come out of you guys, is that you kind of see that there's so much to offer, and there's so many things that people can do. So, bravo for bringing the freedom there. So best of luck with you guys.
Yeah. And we have a few ending questions here for you guys. So the first one would be like, first of all, how do you guys like to integrate yourself? Like, what do you guys, what's your practice of integration on a personal level?
So, well, my practice of integration, I guess, I'm sort of, it's fun. So, Melissa and I are like, obviously we spearhead Point Gym and Kitchen, but we're bringing someone else on our team, in the very near future, and we'll be expanding. And, I feel like I'm always sort of like the go-between between the other person who's like a little bit more like, she will kill me when she hears this, but like she's maybe a little bit more like embedded in the like hippie love and light like yoga community. Although she comes to the gym 4 days a week and she's a total bad. I don't know if we're the X-rated. Yeah, we can say okay. She's a badass. I definitely said BS earlier, so I wouldn't say the S word. And Melissa's like definitely like a lot more like aggressive, like let's go, and like we're competitive, and I'm gonna like shred everything. And she's, but I have like multiple yoga certifications, and I'm like definitely can get down with the woo. But I also have the like athletic background, and like obviously I want to kick Melissa's butt at everything. So I'm like this intermediary where so in terms of integrating myself, I feel like walking that line between like having drive, having ambition, but being really grounded and sort of focusing on what, like just never losing sight of my values and what's important to me. And so yeah, in terms of just like practices around that, I think like I practice yoga when I can. I meditate when I remember. I love like going to hot springs and doing cold plunges. So I'll do certain practices. But really just making it a constant commitment to get outside and be in nature every day. And I have the luxury of living next to a 1,000-acre state park with lots of trails and near a river. So every time when I take my dogs for a walk, it's not like on a city block. I get to go for this hour-long hike in the trees on dirt. So, taking my shoes off and playing around out there is really a good way for me to reconnect and use my strength in playfulness in nature and not just to throw a barbell around. So that's my jam. I can get down with it all.
Great. I love what you shared. And just if you kind of haven't, like when we say integrate, I think of it more as like your processing period or time where you're, taking all the information that you've learned that's new in a way of like being able to bring that in and making it a part of you and how you express yourself. So, and like meditation, some people meditate, some people just do certain forms of replenishment, right? So however, you could just name one thing. It doesn't have to be all of them, but
something that Kimberly has when we met enlightened me that I need to do more of or do better with is to just breathe.
We have a whole story about that. Yeah.
So yeah, I would really appreciate any podcasts you could do on that. But yeah, just kind of calming down. I don't think I'm like a hyper aggressive person, but
she's not. I can vouch for that.
But yeah, and MoveNat helped with that too. MoveNat is a form of movement that slows you down a lot, and I really took to that piece of it because everything I've ever done's been competitive and fast. And so taking the breathing and And for me, bringing it anywhere outdoors. So I don't care if it's a beach or a mountain or a river, just being out of the city for me is how I can bring like all of it kind of together and feel like the best version of myself. Yes.
That's great. I love that. That's really awesome. I mean, I feel the same way, like being outside hiking is the way I can just like let everything go and start like processing whatever's in my brain and kind of get it out of there and also get clear. So yeah, if you guys were to give someone some advice or the biggest value or where to start, what's your biggest advice on where to start for someone who really hasn't even moved or wants to start a movement program and, you know, they're just like overwhelmed and don't even know where to go? So yeah.
I would tell you to start crawling on the ground.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Honestly.
Okay.
And to drink more water.
Or do it at the same time, right? Crawl and drink. Crawl and drink.
That's oh man, that's next level.
Okay.
That's and I mean, so I would say that is definitely great for like on the conditioning perspective, and then but like just for movement, like I would say just walk, like just get outside and like that if that can be your commitment and it doesn't. I feel like when people hear that they like need to go walking, that they immediately are like, oh, it has to be like a half an hour. But if you can just get out the door and say like, okay, I'm going to go around the block, and then that's like, and then you make it around the block and you can call it good. Most people though, if they set the goal of going around the block, they're like, well, they get outside and they're like, I'm not just going to go around the block. I'll like go up to my neighbor's house and, you know, like at the end of the street. And then, so, but walking and crawling, whether, you know, whichever one you do, they're just so beneficial because they're two really foundational movements. They get your right and your left brain talking to each other because we move in these like contralateral patterns, which is like the right side and the left side moving at the same time. So, and people, you just like, your body craves movement. Like our bodies were meant to move. Your cells need movement. There are lots of processes in your body that like don't happen if your body doesn't move. So once you start moving, your body is going to really like want to move more. You'll feel better when you do. So setting those little goals, like, yeah, okay, you go around the block. Maybe you spend like a whole month just like walking for 5 minutes around your block. But then your body is going to sort of wake up and be like, I want a little bit more. So then maybe you walk around the block and then crawl around your house a little bit, or like depending on the season, maybe you crawl around your house, like literally around your house. And you know, and then like before you know it, you're walking to the store. And that's crawl to the store. No, but yeah, I think like if you're somebody that's struggling to get movement into your life, and you're really busy, then like how can you move to accomplish other tasks? So clean your house, but like get really excited about cleaning your house. So you're going to like vacuum the shit out of your house. And like, you know, you're going to like, you have never dusted up above, like on your windowsills, like way up high. Like you're going to like reach and get all the way up there. So, I mean, you asked for one thing, I said a lot, but I think just taking anything and instead of seeing it as a chore, see it as an opportunity for movement.
And then make it an appointment. So if you never say you can't go to your appointment that's in your schedule at work. So if you work an 8-hour day, put it in your schedule that you're going to go do your walk around the block once every 2 hours. Your boss isn't going to get mad at you because you went and you walked around the block. Like it's just not going to happen. You're not going to miss anything that important. Yeah. People who smoke go smoke every 2 hours, right? So you're someone who walks. Yeah. You go walk every 2 hours. It's just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it comes down to putting yourself first, you know, prioritizing yourself and giving yourself that time. So, yeah, very good, very good. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. And the best way to get in touch with them is go to their website, pointgymandkitchen.com.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
See you there.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Good to see you. Bye.
Thanks so much for watching today. If you liked what you saw, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as share with your friends. We'd appreciate it so much. You can connect with Allison at pureenergypdx.com and find her on Instagram at pureenergypdx. And you can find Maja under majagottlieb.com, and you can find her on Instagram under Maja Gottlieb. Definitely check out our Patreon page if you are interested in integrating into our online community. We would really appreciate the support as well, as it funds our podcast. It helps us bring these shows to you every week, and these are really amazing guests, as well as the really great information on the topic shows. And the other intention for the page on Patreon is to help you guys integrate all the information we share with you on the show and provide feedback and guidance, as well as answer questions for you. So check it out. It's patreon.com/integrateyourself.